questions.
Yeah, Old Dominion comes to town. This is our last non-conference weekend before SEC play starts, and we host Vanderbilt the next weekend. Chris Finwood, I think he's in his 14th year. He was an assistant coach here under Tom Slater, and when he left to go to Western Kentucky, I had an opportunity to come, and that was my first opportunity to be an assistant coach here at Auburn. So I think a lot of Finwood followed his career. Coach Nunemaker on our staff worked for him for 6 years before coming back to Auburn, so I think a lot of him. Old Dominion's doing some construction to their facility, so every game they've played has been on the road. They've lost 4 or 5 games by like 1 run. They've absolutely pitched it at a high level. Well, that's the biggest place we'll have our work cut out for those guys. Their weekend rotation has under a 3 earned run average. We'll see 3 left-handed starters. We'll see some spin, some life, and they have almost 20 more strikeouts than innings pitched. So I think with where we're at, as far as you look at the matchups in our conference, this might be, we might have our work cut out for us as much as anybody in the league. But excited to have him down, and Tom Slater, who is a former head coach here, his son Jack is on the team. So it'd be neat to have Old Dominion come with a couple of those connections and have some Auburn experience in their past.
Jason?
How have you seen this pitching staff start to carve out some roles, and is depth the strength right now where you may go, hey, maybe almost like a major league thing where you go, hey, we're going to use numbers as relievers, maybe shorter stints, more of those guys, if you start to kind of see some of that stuff play out?
Yeah, depth's our strength and our weakness. You know what our record was after the first 13 games last year? It was 11-2. So things are going good, but not great. I looked at, we played probably our best game of the year against Ohio State on Friday in Arlington. And then I go Saturday, Sunday, and I go last night. And I'm looking at those 7th, 8th, 9th innings being able to finish, because that's really, to your question, it draws out the bullpen. And those 7, 8, 9 innings, the last 3 games, we've given up 10 runs and we've scored 3. So we still have a lot to do. And when I say it's a strength and a weakness, you know, we're getting to be a lot of sliders, and we haven't got Hayden Murphy going, Dylan Watts going completely yet, and those are some fastballs. We still need some pieces. Jackson Sanders done a great job out of that bullpen for as far as a left-hander, and I think Cam just mentioned him. Myers has done some work for us, but you know, Griffin Graves, we still got some guys we hadn't got in there. So I think it's tremendously unsettled still. And then you flip to the starter where we'll announce Fisher for that Saturday spot, that getting him in the game, it feels like Saturday's going to be a bullpen situation again, and then we're going to be into conference play the next week. So for me, the pitching thing's still so settled. It feels like last night I thought Petrovic did a nice job. He had 5 strikeouts, no walks. And Carlson did a nice job. But probably got him in too early, just a ton of sliders down the end. So we still need some other pieces and different looks, and it still feels like Tilly's done a nice job. A lot of guys have really showed us we could do some things, but we're sitting in the same spot we were last year, and things are good. But you know, we'll get to our league here next week, and we'll start learning more and more. We must get better, and we must get this defined a little bit more for us to have success. I think like last night was another good example, and really these last 3 games of, if we stay here, it's going to be a challenge. We must continue to get better and hone in on some of these roles a little more defined. Even though some guys have done a good job, just start to finish, it's still got to grow.
Yeah.
You're good. You mentioned Cade, and I wanted to ask about just kind of where he's at heading into this weekend, but then also wanted to check in too on Gatwood and Mason Cook too, and just kind of where they're at and when we might expect to see them.
Yeah, Cade looked like he was ready, struck out the side there in the first inning against Oregon State. We got a double play early in the second inning that he pitched, and then it just looked like we fell off a cliff. So I don't know if that's pitch count building back up, or if he got to where he got to being uncomfortable. He's made all his throwing opportunities this week to us throwing back out there. But this is a huge weekend to kind of size that up before we really set into a rotation for next week. Cook, I think, is probably still 2 or 3 weeks away. He's on a throwing program now, and Gatwood was released by his doctor. Now we have to get the Auburn staff to release him, and he's going to throw live today. So he would not participate in this weekend's deal. So hopefully he has a good long deal, and then in this hopefully start to start, every how many days it takes him to come back. Hopefully we get the Auburn clearance if today goes great. So he's been released one side. We need the local side to get him released, and now it's rust. It's one thing to say the doctor's released you. It's another thing, can you go get people out? So that's what we're looking at with Gatwood, and those are 2 pieces we think could help us, but we think we have enough pieces. I just we just got to keep growing and getting better for sure.
Right.
Butch, just to continue with that, Guevara, what's he looking like for this weekend?
I think it's possible for him to play. We set one lineup there in Arlington and played it for all 3 days, and we need to win games. I thought we the effort wasn't there quite last night. Now you can say that when you don't get 2 out hits, and we had our lineup turn around 3 times. One, we made a base running mistake that was egregious. The next 2 times we just didn't get hit, and so it's hard to rely on the 2 out hits. But that was a difference. We've actually had 4 or 5 games like that. The Troy game was close to Oregon State. All these games that we referenced that were really close. The North Alabama game late was close. Today will tell the most on Eric. This should be 100% full practice, and he's been hitting and taking ground balls and doing everything. How do we get him in? The expectation that he's available. I got to start practicing this medical stuff for conference play, but he should be 100% available, and this will be the last. See if he can go full speed from beginning to end of practice, and if he can, how do we get him in there, and when do we get him in there? That has to be a decision of us feeling like we're putting our best team on the field, because we have to right now to be competitive. The arms we're seeing here, this will be the best weekend rotation we see, including Arlington. This will be the 3 best starting arms we've seen this entire year, which is great heading into SEC play.
And I want to ask you about Chase Fralick. What is it about his makeup that allows him to do what he's doing as a true freshman?
Yeah, simple answer is confidence. Just really believes in it. I think I mentioned in the fall he struck out 4 times the least amount of anybody on our roster. A lot of times the guys we had a couple of guys that were sitting on something else and getting off the fastball. He never is trying to do too much. If it's away, he'll take it to left field. If you try to crowd him, he can get there to the pool side. He's not trying to do too much. So he's having real at-bats, and he has bat-to-ball skills, and he has true confidence. And so I think, hopeful, and believe that he has a chance to stay. And I don't know if you hit 500 or whatever he's hitting now, 480 or whatever that is, but he has a chance to be a true hitter, a consistent hitter for his entire career, actually.
You mentioned Eric, obviously sliding back in, somebody has to come out. How tough is that with Rembert, the way he's swinging the bat? Obviously Bub's out there, and Rembert's a guy that has seen some time in the outfield, and you just try to see, maybe depending on matchups, how some of that thing works out.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot this morning. I think it's a 4-man rotation. I think Guevara just comes in, it's a 4-man rotation. Who's hot? If you're fortunate to have a lead, who's the best 3 of those defenders to finish a game? I think that's been a little something we have talked about, and really hadn't had that move as much, or as comfortable with that move with Guevara out. So having him in and having a 4-man rotation on those 3 infield spots, I think makes us stronger and feel better. That way we can, play the 3 out of 4 hot hands, or get the best defense on the field late in the game. And hopefully we can feel like we can start doing that tomorrow.